Super awkward funcast. You're listening to the super awkward funcast. Yeah. And it's like the 64th episode, I believe. I don't think I've done a 64th episode yet, so I'm pretty sure this is it. We've got a lot to talk about today. Though I have a lot of sources. Just stick with me. I haven't really been caught up to. I don't think anything really happened in the last 24 hours that's of note. Just a lot of Ukraine talk again. They're just, going into Ukraine again. Going to keep that war going as long as possible. The title of this episode is Too WEF to Fail. I will tell you that because I'm a lazy bitch and I don't want to not know what my audio is doing, and I don't have fancy podcast headphones like you're supposed to, this might be, especially if it goes badly and nobody shows up, the last live stream that I do on Podbean. I'm not super happy with my experience so far, especially since last time I literally lost my account during a live stream that went awry, and then I had to re-record it with my bro. That was not so fun. Not the super awkward fun that I wanted, but it's what I deserved. There you go. Okay, I thought it would end. That went on way longer than it should have. I don't know why that was such a long one. The booing is way faster. Anywho, I'm probably going to transition back to the back to recording the podcast the way that I did before. The only thing is, I couldn't have a guest on, but I'm not flooded with guests right now anyway for the live stream. And, well, should I share this with somebody? Let me share this. I will invite Shelly. Okay. So anyway, what I'm saying is, so the thing is, I paid for Podbean, if you want to get into the logistics, for the year. So I'm tied to this platform until the end of the year. And then if I want to, I can go free or whatever and just post on YouTube and elsewhere, or just have elsewhere. Probably YouTube. But YouTube, I don't know if they'll be cool with all of my based takes. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm not super happy with everything. And I like the interface that I had on the YouTube live stream that I've done, where I use OBS, which has been a somewhat pleasant experience, although I did have some audio issues, but that was on me, no one else. Although these are my issues too. I mean, if I had a surplus of funds, if I didn't have a vacation that I was having literally in a few days, then I would definitely invest in a mic. Not a mic. Not a mic, but headphones that would not hurt my head, which would be vintage anyway, and probably $14. And I could get them at a yard sale. No, the kind of headphones I need are literally old school headphones. I have some, but they go to my piano or my Yamaha, so my keyboard. They do not hook up to the kind of jack that I have on this laptop. But anyway, this is all very boring for you, I'm sure. Let's get to the news. So basically, East Palestine is still happening, or EP. is still happening. Not much new there. Just a lot of worrying. And in the wake of that, a lot of train derailments have happened. A lot. So we'll go through that. Again, it's called Too Left to Fail. So we're going to talk about Credit Suisse, which you might not be aware of. And you might be. I don't know. You. So we'll see. Since no one's here, I guess we'll just get right to it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I should make an episode called Thank You for Listening. And then nobody is in the audience. And it's just me thanking people for listening. Or me saying, okay, I'll thank the next person who comes into the live stream room. And then nobody ever does. That'd be hilarious. I would die. But not really. But I have a lot to get to. So whether you're here or not, I'm going to get to it. And at least this will be posted in this form. And then I will probably edit out the very protracted intro for tomorrow for the posting of the podcast on superawkwardfuncast.podbean.com. Okay, so what I got from the whole situation with Credit Suisse, let's talk about the Credit Suisse situation. So this is one of the banks that came out of the Silicon Valley Bank situation where they needed to get bailed out for some reason. And a lot of stuff has come out about Credit Suisse. Credit Suisse, I knew from being a partner, an official partner, on the weforum.org or WEF website, World Economic Forum. So that's fun. And they even have, oh my gosh, something from February 28th, 2023 on their page on the WEF website, which, okay, it says here about the bank, it says Credit Suisse is a leading global wealth manager, not anymore, with strong investment banking capabilities. Headquartered in Zurich, Switzerland, it has a global reach with operations in about 50 countries and employing more than 45,000 people from over 150 different nations. Embodying an entrepreneurial spirit, Credit Suisse delivers holistic financial solutions to clients, including innovative products and specially tailored advice. So if I go to that little link that they send me to, which is in Thailand because I'm in Thailand, so let me go. No, I'm in English. I'm cool. If I go to their website, their official website, Credit Suisse, I might. So let's see. No required cookies. No. Save preferences. Okay, we're good. If I go all the way down to media, I think is what I want. I would settle for press, but let's go to media. What's going on with Credit Suisse? Let's find out. Top news. Media releases. Let's try that. That's press releases usually. Financial statements of Credit Suisse Real Estate Fund International. Early generation entrepreneurs drive the outperformance of family business. Okay, so here's the big news. This is what I wanted to get to on this situation. So they failed. This bank failed. And then they got bought by UBS. So let me scooch to that. So it says ad hoc announcement pursuant to Article 53 LR. Credit Suisse and UBS have entered into a merger agreement on Sunday, March 19th. Following the, is that March 19th? I'm stupid. 19th, yes. Okay. Following the intervention of the Swiss Federal Department of Finance, the Swiss National Bank, and the Swiss Financial Market Supervisory Authority, FINMA, which is interesting to note because we're going to come back to that. We're circling back. Just give me a moment. Oh, yay, we got Miguel. Hey, Miguel. Welcome. Listen to the intro at your leisure. Under the terms of the merger agreement, all shareholders of Credit Suisse will receive 1 share in UBS for 22.48 shares in Credit Suisse. Hi. Until consummation of the merger, it says Credit Suisse will continue to conduct its business in the ordinary course and implement its restructuring measures in collaboration with UBS. The Swiss National Bank will grant Credit Suisse access to facilities that provide substantial additional liquidity. On March 19, 2023, Swiss Federal Department of Finance, the Swiss National Bank, again, we're circling back to that, and FINMA, FINMA, have asked Credit Suisse and UBS to enter into the merger agreement. Pursuant to the emergency ordinance, which is being issued by the Swiss Federal Council, the merger can be implemented without approval of the shareholders. How convenient. The consummation of the merger remains subject to customary closing conditions. Then it says Credit Suisse and UBS have entered into a merger agreement on Sunday, with UBS being the surviving entity. After negotiations that took place during the weekend leading up to the signing of the merger agreement, UBS and Credit Suisse concluded that it would be in the best interest of their shareholders and their stakeholders to enter into the merger. This move comes after the Swiss Federal Department of Finance, the Swiss National Bank, again circling back, and FINMA asked both companies to conclude the transaction to restore necessary confidence in the stability of the Swiss economy and banking system. The merger transaction provides for the following key terms. All shareholders of Credit Suisse will receive 1 share in UBS for 22.48 shares in Credit Suisse as merger consideration. This exchange ratio reflects a merger consideration of CHF 3 billion for all shares in Credit Suisse. The merger transaction remains subject to customary closing conditions. Both parties are confident that all conditions can be met. The merger is expected to be consummated by end of 2023 if possible. The Swiss National Bank will grant Credit Suisse access to facilities that provide substantial additional liquidity. For the purpose of a seamless integration of Credit Suisse into UBS, UBS is expected to appoint key personnel to Credit Suisse as soon as legally possible. Credit Suisse continues to operate in the ordinary course of business and implement its restructuring measures in collaboration with UBS. UBS has expressed its confidence that the employment of the staff of Credit Suisse will be continued. On Sunday, Credit Suisse has been informed by FINMA that FINMA has determined that Credit Suisse's additional Tier 1 capital deriving from the issuance of Tier 1 capital notes in the aggregate nominal amount of approximately CHF 16 billion will be written off to zero. In consideration of the unique circumstances affecting the Swiss economy as a whole, the Swiss Federal Council is issuing an emergency ordinance, tailored to this particular transaction. Most importantly, the merger will be implemented without the otherwise necessary approval of the shareholders of UBS and Credit Suisse to enhance deal certainty. Axel P. Lehman, chairman of the board of directors of Credit Suisse, said, given recent extraordinary and unprecedented, I don't know why I'm giving him an accent, whatever, circumstances, the announced merger represents the best available outcome. This has been an extremely challenging time for Credit Suisse, and while the team has worked tirelessly to address many significant legacy issues and execute on its new strategy, we are forced to reach a solution today that provides a durable outcome. We don't want this to happen, but it's happening. Here we go. So, yeah, that's the deal with that. This is what the show... the title of the show is referring to WEF to fail. Because with Credit Suisse, there's a WEF for that, because as I said before, they have a page. They're a partner. Not only that, I'm going to get this for my notes. Okay, so I'm going to put this in the show notes. So don't worry at all. You will have it. I will give it to you. It's out of order in my little list here, but it will be in order eventually. Or it won't. You know what? It is what it is. If it ain't in order, it ain't in order. I don't give a shit. I do so much for you guys, so let me, chill. Okay, so then we have a little video for you. Thank you for liking the show. Please invite other people. I would like other people to be here. Thank you. It would be very nice. So we're talking about Credit Suisse right now, which is the main bank that's getting all this love and merging with UBS. Almost instantaneously that happened. Like, very, very quickly. So I got a little video to play, which will be audio for you. I don't know if I want to do that or talk about Swiss National Bank first. Let's get a little context. So Swiss National Bank was mentioned in that press release, which is from the Credit Suisse website, if you missed that part. And so they're in the news too. So we're circling back to that. So this is from 3 days ago, March 23rd, 2023, 11:39 a.m. Pacific, from John Reville, whatever, and Noel Ilian. Chris. Tune in for the last episode with Chris, my brother. Anyway, Chris, damn it. Chris is on the mind. Shout out to Chris, who's probably listening. Okay, not right now, but he'll probably listen to it later. Swiss National Bank. Swiss, not Chris. Swiss National Bank. Swiss National Bank. Let's try it again. Raises rates, says Credit Suisse takeover prevented larger crisis. And we go down. It says Zurich, March 23rd, from Reuters. Oh, yeah, this is from Reuters, I should say. The Swiss National Bank raised its benchmark interest rate by 50 basis points on Thursday and said UBS's takeover of Credit Suisse had averted a financial disaster, adding it was now critical the merger took place in a smooth and fast way. The multi-billion Swiss francs rescue package brokered by the SNB, government and regulator, on Sunday prevented a systemic crisis, SNB chairman Thomas Jordan said. If this solution hadn't worked, Credit Suisse would have failed, with extreme consequences for Switzerland, but also the global economy, he told a press conference. In the last few weeks, there was a real erosion in confidence in the banking world, and in order to halt it, we needed another solution besides liquidity, Jordan said. The SNB chairman said it was vital for UBS's takeover of the 167-year-old Credit Suisse to go through as smoothly as possible in order to maintain financial stability. UBS made a full commitment to the takeover of Credit Suisse. Now it is extremely important that both parties do everything possible that the takeover will be successful, he said, adding the next 2 weeks would be crucial. His SNB governing council colleague, Martin Schlegel, declined to comment on when he expected the deal to go through. Schlegel also declined to comment on whether UBS and Credit Suisse had used any of the 200 billion Swiss francs in emergency liquidity offered by the SNB. Jordan told Reuters in a separate interview he didn't see the banks needing more liquidity, saying the current instruments were very big and they are bold. Switzerland's financial market regulator FINMA, mentioned before, on Thursday defended its decision to impose steep losses on some Credit Suisse bondholders under the deal, saying the decision was legally watertight. The dramatic events of the last 10 days overshadowed Thursday's fourth interest rate hike in succession by the SNB as it seeks to battle stubborn Swiss inflation, which at 3.4% in February remains outside the SNB's target band of 0 to 2%. The central bank said further rises could not be ruled out. If you look at our newest inflation forecast, we see there is some necessity to continue to tighten monetary policy, Jordan told Reuters. Of course, we will look in 3 months if this is the case or not. The SNB also said it was willing to be active in the foreign exchange market if necessary. It recently switched from selling Swiss francs to buying the currency to increase its value as a way to dampen the effect of imported inflation. Central banks around the world have been hiking rates in recent weeks to check inflation. The Swiss move on Thursday matched the European Central Bank's 50 basis point increase last week, while Norway's central bank, also coming back in a minute because we're cycling back, also raised its benchmark interest rate on Thursday. No period for some reason. I'm available, Reuters, if you need a proofreader. Thank you. The U.S. Federal Reserve on Wednesday raised its main interest rates by a quarter of a percentage point, but indicated it was on the verge, of pausing further increases. The Bank of England is expected to increase its interest rate by a quarter percentage point later on Thursday. The Swiss hike was in line with the majority of economist forecasts, according to a Reuters poll. Economists expect further hikes as the SNB fights Swiss inflation, which last year hit its highest since 1993. Further moves could be in the pipeline, said Jero Young, an economist from Mirabaud, in some a hawkish hike from the SNB. Okay. So with that background, we go to the video. Okay, so I have 2 videos, apparently. There's a video here. It might be basically the same thing, but let's see what it says. Go back. We have to go back. How do I go back? Okay. Thank you.
Switzerland has endured a week of turmoil over its banks. That after the dramatic weekend rescue of troubled Credit Suisse by local rival UBS. But that hasn't deterred the country's central bank from raising rates. On Thursday, the Swiss National Bank lifted its benchmark rate by another half a percentage point. That was its 4th hike in succession, and policymakers said more increases could not be ruled out as part of the battle against inflation. The move follows the US Federal Reserve's quarter-point raise a day earlier, and it matches the move by the European Central Bank last week. But it comes as central banks face tough decisions over how to avoid stoking the turmoil for lenders. Many analysts say swiftly rising rates are a key driver in the troubles for banks in the US and elsewhere. Among other factors, higher rates cut the value of bonds, which form a big chunk of bank balance sheets. For now, though, it seems the fight against inflation outweighs all such concerns.
There is no way in hell or heaven or anywhere else that voice was not AI generated. I'm just saying. Oh my.
It wasn't the
Hold on, Bloomberg. Now we got Bloomberg chiming in. And then we're going to go to the connection, the WEF connection that I'm sure you're waiting for.
It wasn't the corporate espionage scandal, the alleged laundering of drug money, or the private banking fraud that brought down Credit Suisse. In the end, it was a 5-word interview response from its biggest investor.
I'm wondering whether you would be open to assisting further if there was another call for additional liquidity from Credit Suisse.
The answer is absolutely not.
In other words, if Credit Suisse needed propping up financially, it couldn't count on the Saudis. Investors panicked that the bank would collapse and spark a new global crisis. It was the culmination of years of missteps and misconduct that showed what it had failed to learn from the last financial crisis, namely, don't take unnecessary risks with your clients' money. As power brokers, politicians, and executives scrambled to avert catastrophe, the 166-year-old pillar of Swiss finance would be corralled into a deal that almost no one really wanted.
Deal. Okay, they said 166, and someone else said 167, so I'm going to fact check that real quick. And yes, I'm doing an accent. Why not? He did one. I mean, it's real, probably, but whatever. Anyways. Credit Suisse. Suisse. Whatever. Credit Suisse. We're just gonna call it Swizz. It rhymes with jizz. I'm gonna say Swizz. We're going to the always accurate Wikipedia. 166 years ago, according to their website, via Wikipedia. So this is a fact check for the original article that I just read from Reuters. The fact check is they have been in business since whatever year that was. I'm not good at math. Whatever. 166 years. This dude was right. Credit sus. Good one, Miguel. Thank you.
Done. UBS will buy Credit Suisse for 3 billion Swiss francs.
Truly historic. This ends a 166-year run for Credit Suisse.
That bell is for the demise of Credit Suisse, the birth of a new bank, and a whole new view on Swiss banking.
A whole new view. And this is called From Scandal to Mistrust, the Collapse of Credit Suisse. Jizz. Yes. It's 8 minutes and 51 seconds. If you want to delve into it, you're more than welcome. I will put it in the show notes as I do every time. I'll give you the things and you read the things and you watch the things if you want to watch or read the things, and it's up to you. It's whatever. I don't care. You do what you gotta do. I have nothing to do with you. I'm not in charge of you or anything. That's what it is. You know, the thing. You know, you read the thing, watch the thing, whatever you want to do with the thing is what you do with the thing. If you want to do the thing, you do the thing, you know. Anyway, this brings me back to Swiss National Bank, right? And then Credit Suisse, so, you know, I said it's WEF related. It's a partner of WEF. They're on the website, all that jazz. Well, even so, on top of that, we also had Thomas Jordan, who was mentioned as the guy from the bank, the chairman, Thomas Jordan from SMB, was at Davos. Just so happened to go to Davos in January this year. And so if you wanted to hear him and the talk that they had about monetary policy, it's literally called What Next for Monetary Policy. Well, you're in luck because we're doing that right now. So this is from January 20th, 2023, 9 to 9:45 Central Time. I believe that's in the morning. I don't know. But we had a whole panel of people. So here are the people that were speaking in this little panel. Thomas J. Jordan, chairman of the governing board, Swiss National Bank, which is partly responsible for the bailout or the merger between UBS and Credit Suisse. And so save their ass, basically, right? Larry Summers, our favorite, Charles W. Eliot University professor and Harvard Kennedy School of Government. We all know him. His reputation precedes him. Kirsten Brathen. Did she say Brathen? I don't remember what she said. Something with a thin at the end. Chief Executive Officer of DNB ASA, Julio Velarde, Governor of Central Bank of Peru. He's just perusing. Jimana Versace, anchor of CNBC, which is the now go-to place that I have for conversation because it's the only, NBC also, like NBC in general is the one that has the comments still on YouTube of Biden speeches. So that's what I'm watching now instead of Yahoo Finance, which is also a partner of the WEF and also NBC in some capacity. Let me make sure I get that correct for you because I don't want you to come for me. So let's go to partners, blah, 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 blah. Our partners, NBC would be N. Should be NBC Universal. That's a lovely sound. NBC Universal. Yes. So they have a whole page you can go to. It says Comcast is a leading media, entertainment, and communications company. Is located in the operation of is located. Is all involved in the operation of cable systems through Comcast Cable and in the development, production, and distribution of entertainment, news, sports, and other content through NBC Universal, blah, 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 et cetera, and so on, so forth. Okay, so you have that. Back to Davos. So this is the Davos discussion. I watched it so you don't have to. And, ooh, I might be able to speed it up. Sweet. Can I? No, I can't. Damn. I got excited for a second. But now I can change it to 720p. So that's the thing that I can do. That's cool. So we'll just watch the beginning of it and then the end of it, and you'll see what I mean. Like, this is what next for monetary policy. The description is a dramatic period of surging inflation led to the sharpest tightening of monetary policy in decades. Is a radical rethink by central banks required, or do current targets and toolkits suffice?
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our panel. Really excited to moderate this panel today. The title of the panel is What Next for Monetary Policy?
It is very exciting.
If we look back at 2022, it's probably a bit of an understatement to say it was an exciting year for monetary policy. A lot happened. And let me just give you a little bit of context here. If we rewound back to exactly a year ago, to January 2022, the Fed hadn't even started hiking interest rates yet. The market was pricing in about 75 basis points cumulative of interest rate hikes out of the Fed beginning of January 2022. They obviously...
Okay, also wanted to just interject her... that chick, Brothen, or whatever her last name is, Kirsten, she's not there yet. She's a latecomer.
He went on to deliver 425 basis points worth of hikes, the fastest tightening delivered in about 4 decades. Of course, there was an energy shock, a terrible war. An
unavoidable war, right, guys? Like, we just couldn't do anything about that war other than giving the Nazis in the military plenty of weapons and horrific possibly nuclear shit, probably at some point, and other things that, you know, just not just weapons, like the worst weapons that you could use against people. But again, you know, the U.S. government really wants to crack down on violence with U.S. citizens that involve firearms. The bombs are fine, though. The cluster bombs funded by the banks, it's totally fine. Don't worry about it.
Some of those inflationary pressures. And of course, we had to see central banks reacting.
It
wasn't just the Fed. We saw it with central banks all over the world. They all had to start tightening. And I thought it was really interesting that in the space of months, we unwound a decade of essentially what was zero interest rate policy, negative interest rate policy. For a long time, market participants were thinking we're stuck in this negative zero interest rate environment. How are we going to get out of it? And in the course of a couple of months, we did actually manage to get out of it. So 2022 was
And for some reason, well, at some point during that close-up that she had, Kirsten, whatever her name is, Kirsten came in and she's seated next to Larry. So she's there.
Was a really exciting one for the central banking community. And I think today's panel, we're going to explore where it goes from here. How are central banks doing with this fight against inflation? Are we close to the peak in interest rates? Is there a sea change coming in terms of how we think about central banks' mandates? Hopefully, we will answer a lot of these questions and more throughout the course of the panel. But first, let me introduce our panelists. So let me just start off with Kirsten Brothen, right at the left there, who is the Chief Executive Officer of DNB in Norway. To her right, we have Larry Summers, Charles W. Eliot University Professor, Harvard Kennedy School of Government, USA, former Treasury Secretary, of course. To his right, we have Thomas Jordan, the Chairman of the Governing Board of the Swiss National Bank. And then to his right, we have Julio Velarde, the Governor of the Central Bank of Peru. Very well represented.
Julio.
Also think I spotted...
he totally looks like defeated. Like his face is just like... See, this is why YouTube is a better platform at the moment for the show, because then I can really show you whilst playing the video. You can see everything and the ridiculousness of the expressions, and you can see it for yourself. You don't have to take my word for it that this dude looks like it's the worst day of his life for some reason.
The Bank of Japan governor here as well. So thank you very much for attending our session. There's a lot of focus on your perspectives as well this week.
Okay, so we're going to skip to the end because we like to do that. We don't want to waste any time, you know. So let's skip to the most important stuff with like Thomas Jordan, because again, he's from SMB, which is part of the bailout of Credit Suisse. Let's see. Oh, that dude said something, the Julio guy. They all say something. I don't really know what the fuck they're saying because they're talking in a language I don't understand. But anywho, Larry, the cable guy. I can't remember where Jordan is. Oh, okay, I forgot what he looked like. My bad. Okay, so Jordan talks a lot here. So let's go back to here. See what he has to say. He's saying something. It's very important. This is all leading up to Credit Suisse going under and being merged with UBS.
And we are also able to sell some of our foreign exchange reserves again. But we have to say the loss that we are having last year has to be set in the context of the gains that we made also over the last couple of years. And it's obvious when interest rates are going up, the stock market is coming down, and the exchange rate is appreciating. Then with this kind of balance sheet, we are making losses. But that will probably also change again in the future. We have no proof that the composition of the balance sheet was not sensible. And on the contrary, without moving into stocks, probably the overall losses would be even bigger. So I think the composition of our balance sheet made a lot of sense, and we will continue with this kind of investment strategy.
Thank you. I'm actually going to just jump to a slide now. I have a slide.
I love slides, but no, I'm good. Let's see what Larry Summers says. He's amazing. He's a great guy.
In the name of QE, on behalf of taxpayers.
Okay, actually that was interesting to hear. Hold on, let me go back.
Perhaps.
Hold on. We gotta go to the beginning.
Where I'm gonna ask you the exact same question.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I also believe that I think especially in the US and Europe, everything that we see is inflation is still at the level that tighter monetary policy is necessary.
Marginally tighter, perhaps. I want to, just since I've got a chance to talk, I want to say one other thing. I have no views about the Swiss central bank and its context of handling its balance sheet. I do think that it is noteworthy that after the crisis had passed, after we had the terrible illiquidity associated with COVID, the United States, in the name of QE, on behalf of taxpayers, through the central bank, turned in our national debt on a very substantial scale by issuing, in effect, floating rate bank reserves and purchasing long-term bonds. It did so at a moment when roughly every corporate treasurer in the world was terming out its debt to move to the longer term. I saw an estimate that the mark-to-market loss associated with post-crisis QE had been on the order of $800 billion. That is a lot of money. And I do think that we need, in addition to thinking about the stimulative and contractionary aspects of QE, to focus on the balance sheet debt maturity aspects of QE. And in retrospect, I think that was a highly problematic set of steps that we were taking in the United States.
Hopefully in our next panel we can talk more about that. Kirsten, quick question to you, and then we'll hopefully get some Q&A from the audience as well. Well, it would be very.
Okay, and then I'll skip her because she's boring as hell. Quantitative easing is what QE is, by the way, if you were wondering. Then we have questions.
As much as possible because they are such in a dire situation, and also among.
Hold on, let me scooch it.
Everyone, my name is Martin Schwab. I'm a part of the Global Shapers community from the.
Martin Schwab.
And next to them, I'm also a politician here in Switzerland.
Oh.
I have a question to you.
Double great.
Mr. I know a lot of people, they are eating their bread without butter. They look where they can economize as much as possible because they are such in a dire situation. And also among us, the young people, we are very critical about the future. Can you give us a little bit hope? Will the future be better than it is today?
This is Thomas Jordan.
I'm always an optimist, especially for Switzerland. And with price stability, that should contribute, I think, to a good future as well. But you are completely right. I think policies should ensure that the life of people will be better in the future. And it's not only ordinary fiscal policy, and that was mentioned before by Larry. I think it's also structural policy. So when structural policy is right, firms will be competitive, and we have growth, and we have real salaries increasing. I think these structural policies in Switzerland, but globally, are extremely important. And I hope that in Switzerland, politicians are reasonable to recognize the relevance of these structural issues.
Okay, then they kind of like come back at the end, and they talk a little bit more. Let's listen to the last couple minutes of it, and then we'll be done. I promise. Davos was. It's not fun to listen to. I agree.
It's absolutely essential, and we see now when governments are not having too much debt, they can react to certain shocks. If their fiscal situation is really bad, if the level of debt is already high, the room of maneuver is limited. And of course, they get much more vulnerable in case interest rates are increasing. So having sound fiscal policy over the cycle, having a limited amount of debt, having something with a debt break as we have in Switzerland, I think this is something that is in the medium to long term very beneficial for economists.
Larry, do you want to jump in? We've got about 30 seconds, but would love to hear your views on this as well.
Much depends on R star. If R star ends up high, these debt levels are going to be quite problematic. If R star ends up low, they will be less problematic than many people suppose. Probably the debt problem about which I am most concerned is the developing country debt problem, where I think the combination of increases in interest rates, a stronger dollar, what's happened to oil prices, possible global recession, the continuing burdens of the pandemic and of climate change have created, I think, a near perfect storm for many of the poorest countries in the world. And I think finding comprehensive approaches to their support, critically including dealing with debt, is probably the most important of the debt challenges that I would see ahead.
Absolutely. And I think that is a great place to leave it. Panelists, thank you so much for joining me today. Really
thank you. Yeah, that was really fun.
And thank you to everyone who attended this session.
So much fun. Thank you, everybody, for that. Yeah, so there's more where that came from. If you want to watch any of the WEF meetings and the Davos goings on, do it at your leisure. You're more than welcome to do that whenever you want. Moving on to the next topic. Oh yeah, speaking of WEF, because there's other news that happened. Oh shit. The former president. I can't get this on my tablet, so I'm gonna do it on my computadora. Donald Trump. Let's see what the news is on Donnie. I'll read it. News. Huh. Oh, he was at Waco. Okay. Here's the news. Okay. 2 hours ago, Austin American Statesman. He did a rally in Waco. Says staging his first public rally. Oh wait, I should say who wrote this and all that shit. David Jackson, Ryan Attulo, and Elle Lee from USA Today. This is a republished article, or reposted. Published 5:12 p.m. Central Time, March 26, 2023. Updated 5:17 p.m. Central, March 26, 2023. Okay. Staging his first public rally of the 2024 election cycle, President Donald Trump lashed out at the many criminal investigations against him, particularly the one in New York that could lead to his indictment any day. They're just waiting with bated breath for this indictment. They're not coming after me. They're coming after you, he told a large crowd Saturday in Waco during a rambling speech seeking support from his political base as he faces the prospect of becoming the first former president to face criminal charges. The Waco rally, itself a source of criticism, came a week after Trump claimed he would be arrested by New York authorities in a case that revolves around hush money to an alleged mistress. That has not happened, as a New York grand jury is reportedly continuing its investigation. Last week, Trump repeatedly urged his supporters to protest the investigations in New York and elsewhere, exhortations that some lawmakers interpreted as calls to violence. Sure. Trump did not specifically make such a plea during the Waco speech, which lasted some 95 minutes. And then it says what he said. So let's see if I can get a clip of his ass saying something. Let's see. Because we want to hear it from the horse's mouth. The WEF agenda contributor's mouth. I guess I'll put this over here in my podcast folder. There you go. Enjoy. Okay. All right. Let's see. Donald Trump, Waco. All right. Watch live. Here we go. Click to Houston. Click to Houston. Houston, we have.
They're good at keeping borders open.
All right. Chill the fuck out. Somebody give me a timestamp. I'm not going through this whole thing. Let's see. Tears in his eyes. Can't wait for this SNL cold opening. People do that? People wait with bated breath for SNL? That's interesting. 2532. Totally shocked that MSM is showing this with the crowd about time. 2532. What does that say?
They're right there. In fact, it was a very big. They don't talk about it. Amazing. You know, it's amazing because when I started, they had a very, very high popularity and approval rating. And now they're lower in Congress. I'm very proud of that. I've exposed, but they were never like this. Now they're deranged. And not all of them. I'd say 10% of them are okay. But the 10% have a very hard time. They have a very hard time. And nobody can understand why a media would be against things where we want good education for our children, where we want 4 million or 5 million, 15 million, which is bigger than New York State.
I think he's talking about immigration there.
Because of taxes and other things, because they're doing not a good.
Oh my gosh, it's so boring. I can't.
Just say walls and wheels. They can come up with all the computers and everything they want. The two things that are going to work for a long time are walls and wheels.
What the fuck are you even talking about?
All federal and military resources to carry out the largest domestic deportation operation.
Oh my gosh, it's so boring. Trying to hear what he said about the thing.
This is within our reach as long as we have the courage to stick together, stand firm against all attacks, and see this mission through to ultimate victory. In conclusion,
okay, let's just conclude.
Movement is the greatest political movement in the history of our country. Together we are taking on some of the most menacing forces and vicious opponents our people have ever seen, some of them from within. But no matter how hateful and corrupt the communists and criminals we're fighting against may be, you must never forget this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. Belongs to you.
Skipping.
But now we are a nation in decline.
What is with the music?
We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has the highest inflation.
Not this music in the background.
Banks are collapsing, and interest rates are far
What
too
is
high.
happening?
Likewise, we are a nation where energy costs have reached the highest in our history. We're no longer energy independent.
You know it's a fucking show when they put in manipulatively emotional music, triumphant music at the end of your speech. Like, wow, okay. Always the entertainer, isn't he?
Or energy dominant as we were just 3 short years ago. We're a nation that is begging Venezuela and many others for oil. Please, please, please help us, Joe Biden says. And yet we have more liquid gold right under our feet than any other country. We are a nation that is consumed by the radical left's Green New Deal. Yet everyone knows that the Green New Deal will lead to our destruction. We are a nation whose leaders are demanding all electric cars, even though they can't go far.
Even though they can't go far.
And whose batteries are
Is this a
produced
poem?
in China, with materials
China.
only available in China.
China.
When an unlimited amount of gasoline is available inexpensively in the United States of America, but is not available in China. We are a nation that ended oil exploration and production in the United States just as the price of oil reached an all-time high. What other country would do such a thing?
Oh, triumphant.
We are a nation that surrendered in Afghanistan, leaving behind dead soldiers, American citizens, and $85 billion worth of the finest military.
It'd be funny if someone just accidentally stopped the music.
We are a nation that allowed Russia to devastate a country, Ukraine, killing hundreds of thousands of people, and it will only get worse. It would never have happened with me as your commander-in-chief, and for 4 straight years, it didn't happen. China and Taiwan will be next. We are a nation that has weaponized its law enforcement against the opposing political party like never before. We've got a federal Bureau of Investigation that won't allow bad election-changing facts to be presented to the public, and which offers $1 million to a writer of fiction about Donald Trump to lie and say it was actually fact, where Hunter Biden's laptop from hell was Russian disinformation and the FBI knew it wasn't. And the Department of Justice that refuses to investigate egregious acts of voting irregularities and fraud. And we have a man who's the worst president in the history of our country.
I doubt
who
that.
is cognitively impaired, in no condition to lead, and is now casually talking about nuclear war with Russia. He has no idea what he's even talking about.
How long is this song, guys? How long is the song? Like, how long is this gonna go? I'm kind of curious to see how long the song ends up being. That makes me weird, but this is insane.
This war would be World War III and far more devastating than any of the previous world wars.
Yeah.
Because of the weaponry that no one even wants to think about or discuss.
Right.
We are a nation that no longer has a free and fair press. Fake news is all you get, and they are the enemy of the people. We are a nation where
he's bringing out all the hits, all the old hits that went platinum. He's bringing them back. All the hit singles he had before. He's like, that went well last time. Let's bring it back.
Free speech is no longer.
Or the people writing his script.
Crime is rampant and out of control like never before. We are a nation that is allowing.
We are a nation.
Massive nuclear weapon.
I need someone to do a fucking.
China to use the trillions of.
A fucking parody of this because it's insane. Well, it is self-parody, so I don't know if that's necessary. But anyway.
Dollars it has taken from us to build a military that will rival our own. And just 2 years ago, we had Iran, China, Russia, and North Korea in check. They weren't going to do a thing against us, and everyone knows it. Now Russia and China are united and holding summits to carve up the world. And
that's our job.
Most importantly, we are a nation that is no longer respected or listened to on the world stage. We are a nation that in many ways has become a joke.
Kind of like this. This is a joke. Biden is a joke. Trump is a joke. It's all a joke. If you take any of them seriously, I don't know what to tell you. It's a joke. Laugh and move on with your life. Except you can't because people who are joking with you are joking with you using your money to fund wars that never end and using it for all kinds of other shit that they shouldn't be using it for while ignoring the people who need the money the most. That's the joke. The joke is on us, everyone. This song's never ending. They're doing it on a loop or something. I don't know what's going on there. Let me get to I'm skipping to the end because there's no crescendo or anything. And I don't want to hear this anymore. It's all bullshit. All right. Let's see what song he plays at the end. Got a little bit of an audio issue at the end. We will make America great again. That's his whole tagline. God bless you all, blah, blah, blah. Maybe they got copyrighted, so they turned it off before the music came out. That'd be hilarious. Looks like that's what happened, actually. I don't know what song is playing. Oh well. It is what it is. Make America great again. Also a fucking old ass line from the 90s and 80s and everything like that. Been used by multiple presidential candidates. Boring. So anyway, moving on. So basically, he's not going to save you. No one's going to save you. We're all on our own. We're all on our own. He lied to us during the pandemic. He was a part of the pandemic, whether people want to acknowledge that or not. I don't care. Fauci was there under him. He was in charge of Fauci, or seemed to be. Wasn't really, because nobody's in charge of anybody in this fucking thing. They're all puppets. We're going to get to Fauci. Oh, we got a special place for Fauci in the show. But But yeah, the walls keep closing in on Donald Trump. He's going to be indicted any day now. He's not. The rumors of his incarceration are rumors only. Other than that, we've got a whole bunch of train derailments. So let's go through those real quick. So there's a shit ton, and even a new one in the last few days. So I think I have 7. That's a lot. That's a lot being covered. So I think the issue is that, oh shit. Can y'all hear me? Oh no. Oh no. Okay. You can hear me? Well, it's not showing. I'm glad. Have you heard me the whole time? Please say yes. Because I have no red light. I can hear you, yes. Okay, so I don't know what happens, but when I take out my speaker or whatever, and then I plug, and then I take out the plug to the speaker, it immediately turns off my red light. So I'm like, what? Am I being heard? I don't know. But anyway, maybe that's to do with my speaker or something. But anyway, the whole time, great, perfect. I'm glad you're listening. I'm glad someone's listening. I really thank you so, Miguel. I love you so much, Miguel. You're such a great supporter. Shout out to Miguel. Miguel's amazing. So yeah, we got a lot of train derailments and not a lot of time to cover them, but we're going to cover them more than the government and the media does. So give me a chance. Give me a chance to blow your mind. All right, so starting with USA Today. So this one is from Arizona. I don't know why we're starting in Arizona. I don't know, but like there are so many that I just like chose whatever I wanted to choose. So this was a train carrying corn syrup derails in Arizona. Published 6:30 p.m. March 20th, 2023. I was going to say before, the train derailments weren't probably covered as much before, and that's why it seems like a lot of them are happening at once, but that's another media tactic where they don't cover something for a while, and then they cover it all the time, and then everybody thinks, oh my gosh, we have an epidemic of this happening, like similar to what they've done with mass shootings, similar to what they've done with police encounters that went awry, many of them, specifically with Black people. And not focusing on Latino people who also are a big target in many communities, like LA, for example. Not hugging, but like it's a thing that happens. Like these things keep happening, and then well, that's annoying. I will refresh. There we go. So let's listen to this video before it goes away. Anyway, this is March 20th, 2023. Chris Higa via Storyful. It's a video, so hold on. Scooch it. Why are you not scooching? I hate when it doesn't scooch. Rude. What the fuck? Alright. Nothing's happening yet, anyway. Oh, is it not an actual video? It's just showing the scene. Never mind. Anyway, it says here, I'll read it. A train carrying corn syrup derailed in Mojave County, Arizona on March 15th. Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railway said that the train was carrying corn syrup, citing a company spokesperson. This footage was captured by Chris Higa and shows emergency personnel at the scene of the derailment. So basically it's showing like what happened on the scene. But there's nobody talking or anything, so yeah, there's nothing happening. It's just showing the scene. All right. So then there's also Alabama. Here's what happened there.
Freight company was
One moment, please. Thank you. ITV News. I got this from a fucking English news service about an American train derailment. Because you got to get it where you get it, because not everyone in the media is covering this stuff.
The boss of an American rail freight company was already scheduled for a Senate grilling today when yet another of his trains derailed. It came a month after an even more serious such incident in Ohio that, it's claimed, left toxic chemicals flowing out. To control the leaks in that case, crews decided to burn the remainder, releasing huge plumes of black smoke into the skyline. For the impact on locals, the train boss said today he was deeply sorry. But as one senator pointed out, it seems every week there's another accident.
It might be the world's biggest economy, but the infrastructure which connects it is literally coming off the rails.
Good one.
A series of freight train derailments have suddenly put one company under intense scrutiny. This was a Norfolk Southern freight train dramatically crashing on Sunday.
Of course it was.
Ohio.
Look at that. Look at that. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
The same company was responsible for a much more serious incident in East Palestine, Ohio last month. It resulted in a toxic chemical spill affecting more than 2,000 residents who were evacuated from a 1-mile exclusion zone. The health consequences of that are still being assessed. And then today, another accident, this time in Alabama, just a few hours before the CEO of Norfolk Southern was questioned by US senators.
I want to begin today by expressing how deeply sorry I am.
But his contrition didn't spare him withering criticism.
The company followed the Wall Street business model. Boost profits by cutting costs at all costs. The consequences for places like East Palestine be damned.
Why can't everybody decide to go, right?
But the politics of these derailments isn't confined to a Senate committee. Donald Trump visited East Palestine last month, accusing Joe Biden's government of being slow to act. Train safety is becoming a presidential campaign issue.
It's becoming clear there is a systemic problem with the rail system of the United States. This is the third serious derailment in just over a month, leaving many wondering about the safety of this sprawling network.
The fallout from disasters like this may have a lasting effect, not just on the health of those living in its toxic shadow, but also on America's fractured politics. Dan Rivers, News at 10, Washington.
This is from ITV News on YouTube, and it's called Alabama Freight Train Derails as Company Bosses Come Under Pressure. ITV News, and it's got 12,917 views as of now, and it's from March 9th, 2023. Then we have this article from US News. Again, I'm just looking up train derailments, and I find this shit. Like, you can find it. You just be very vague. Safety Board, Alabama derailed train lacked needed couplers. This is from the Associated Press originally, March 20th, 2023. So this is 11 days after that report, 7:49 p.m. I assume that's my time. I don't know. It doesn't say. And then it says federal investigators say a Norfolk Southern train that derailed in Alabama earlier this month lacked required alignment control couplers, and a company inspection didn't identify their absence. Springfield, Ohio. Norfolk Southern train that derailed in Alabama earlier this month lacked required, it says the same thing, control couplers for 2 of its locomotives, and a company inspection did not identify their absence, federal investigators said Monday. The notation comes in one of 3 preliminary reports issued Monday by the National Transportation Safety Board about Norfolk Southern train accidents this month, as the board investigates the railroad's safety practices after the fiery February derailment and toxic chemical burn in EP, Ohio. In a report released Monday about a March 9th derailment of 2 locomotives and 37 rail cars in Anniston, Alabama, the safety board said 2 of the train's 6 locomotives were waybill locomotives, or towed cars not used for any tractive power. The cars weren't equipped with alignment control couplers that resist lateral coupler movement under compressive in-train forces. A company rule bars towing waybill locomotives without such couplers, the report said. The Waybill locomotives were coupled together and picked up from Bluffton, Indiana on February 24th, and a Norfolk Southern inspection before the first movement involving the coupled locomotives did not identify the absence of alignment control couplers, the safety board said. A company spokesperson said in an email Monday that these locomotives were not owned by Norfolk Southern, and the couplers on these locomotives are not common on our network. Okay. Then it goes down to say, we have taken immediate action to update our manuals with photos and details to implement training with our crews. Safety is a priority at NS. And we'll continue working with the NTSB to identify the final cause of this derailment and all the other ones, apparently, and implement any other necessary changes, said Connor Spielmaker. Spielmaker? He makes the spiels. Okay. A senior communications manager with Norfolk Southern. It's so funny, I have to laugh. No injuries were reported. 3 derailed tank cars were carrying hazardous material residue, but all remained intact, the report said. The safety board said future investigation will focus on Norfolk Southern communication, maintenance, and inspection practices, as well as locomotive and rail car positioning and train handling. The safety board also said it was examining industry-wide. I'm starting to get British again. And practices regarding railcar wheel and axle assemblies after a train derailment in Ohio earlier this month. And then we already went over that last episode. You can listen to it whenever the fuck you want. It's the one after this one on the page. Anyway, so then it goes into that again and talks about it. So then we got Charlotte, not to be outdone. We got Charlotte, North Carolina, where around where my family lives. Most of them, not most of them. Part of my immediate family lives. This is from March 24th, 2023, 10 a.m. updated by Jenna Contino from charlotteobserver.com. CATS, or CATS, didn't inspect bridges, interim CEO reveals before vote for outside investigation. Another infrastructure problem here. Charlotte's transit agency skipped inspections on light rail, bridges, and parking garages in 2021, despite a federal requirement to complete them. Interim Charlotte Area Transit System CEO Brent Cagle revealed the missed inspection dates at a Metropolitan Transit Commission meeting Wednesday night, where members voted to seek a third-party investigation into issues that include a May 2022 light rail derailment. Mecklenburg County Commissioner Lee Altman made the motion. At this point, we don't know anything for a fact. I won't feel comfortable that these trains are safe until I hear that from the DOT, Altman said. Last week, Cagle revealed to the Charlotte City Council a Blue Line train derailed in May 2022 due to a faulty axle bearing. To fix the issue, Cagle said CATS is working with rail company Siemens Mobility, and I trust Siemens with everything because, you know, they were integral in, that thing, the thing in, at that time in Germany. Anyway, let's move on. To expedite repairs on each train, which is still expected to take several years. The city will foot the $30 million bill because the parts are no longer covered under a warranty. Don't you hate when that happens? Cagle said, we should expect that there will be other things as the investigation encourages employees to speak out on culture. Culture doesn't change overnight, but it will change quickly, he said, because with a culture of silence, there's a lot of people who have been waiting for this. CATS serves Mecklenburg County transit riders, and the MTC is an advisory board that includes elected officials, citizens, and a regional representative from the State Transportation Board. Okay, it says inspections on 37 bridges, 6 parking garages missed in 2021. An employee informed CATS management about the failure to complete federally required inspections in 2021 on all 37 of the city's light rail elevated bridges, Cagle said. When management learned about the missed inspection this month, he said they sprung into action to find a contractor to conduct them as soon as possible. Inspections began Tuesday, he said, and will take up to 3 months to complete. While they are going, they will be reporting to us anything that they find so that we can immediately start to address those things as they're going and not wait for a final report, Cagle said. When the bridges were last inspected in 2019, they were deemed good and fair. Right, 6 CATS parking decks are also due for inspection, he said, and the transit agency has contacted a consultant to inspect each of them immediately. Altman's list of concerns in an email to her fellow Metropolitan Transit Committee members and Charlotte City Council, she laid out her motion. Her concerns included the failure to disclose the derailment, delayed maintenance causing the derailment, failure to fix the issue, failure to slow trains down immediately after they were recommended by the North Carolina Department of Transportation, a culture of silence at CATS, ongoing safety risks of the train still in operation, broken public trust. We must also understand organizationally how it is even possible a systemic failure of this scope could occur in the first place, Altman said in the email. Without understanding how mismanagement at this level was possible, we will not have taken the necessary steps to protect the public from future failures. During the meeting, Altman grilled Cagle with specific questions about the light rail and the CAT's response to the derailment. We need an entity that is familiar with the transit regulatory framework and best practices for transit organizations to give us context or any actual conclusions upon which we can all finally rely, she said before making the motion for an external investigation into the agency. Charlotte Mayor Vi Lyles said, revelations about CAT's structural and operating mishaps make it a perfect time to begin considering what a regional transportation authority would look like. Altman said she's meeting with regional mayors Friday to discuss that, but a lack of a regional transit authority didn't cause the issue of delayed maintenance on the city's only light rail line. What we know about the May 2022 derailment. CAT's spokesman Brandon Hunter said the derailment occurred after a northbound Blue Line train stopped at the Woodlawn station on its usual route on May 21st. With 24 passengers on board, the train was on its way to the Scaly Bark station when a wheel on a middle car came off of the tracks. The train traveled 1,206 feet before stopping. The train car remained on the tracks even as one of its wheels hung off. All passengers got off safely, and one passenger requested a medical evaluation on the scene. No passengers or employees were injured or transported from the train. Prior to the derailment, Cagle said an operator of the same vehicle noticed an issue with it. They did not know exactly what the issue was with the rail car, but they knew it was not operating as they would expect. But that did not lead them to immediately request that the rail car be taken out of service, he said to the MTC Wednesday. The faulty part was a bearing that creates friction with an axle. On the derailed train, a seal broke on a bearing, allowing water and corrosion in to ultimately stop the axle from turning. The well-being of passengers is the top priority for Siemens Mobility as well as CATS. We have been proactively working with the customer on a maintenance plan that will prevent any future issues with bearings, train manufacturer Siemens said in a statement to the Charlotte Observer. Along with decreasing maximum speeds from 55 to 35 miles per hour, CATS is also checking temperature strips daily that have been added to each train car, Hunter said. WFAE reported the speed decrease came as an order from NCDOT in response to an otherwise inadequate safety plan. The derailment. Hello, Bobby G. Welcome. The derailment occurred under the leadership of former CEO John Lewis. Lewis resigned in November 2022 when Cagle, then the assistant city manager, took over as interim CEO. Cagle and other city officials say they weren't told about the May derailment until just a few weeks ago when NCDOT sent correspondence to the transit agency about the derailment. Polls results on transit safety. And then it says, after news of the derailment, the Observer launched a poll to ask readers about their opinion. Most of the 126 people who participated, that's not much of a sample size, but okay, said the derailment won't affect their cats' ridership habits. The results are as follows. 31% of respondents, again, 126 people, said they use CAT services for special events. 28% said they never use Charlotte Transit. 15% ride every few weeks. 13% ride a few times a week. 8% ride every day. And 6% ride once per month. 89% of respondents said they ride the Blue Line, light rail most often. 8% ride CATS buses most often. And 3% ride the Gold Line most often. 57% of respondents said no when asked if they're worried about safety while riding on Charlotte's transit system. Separately, 28.9% said they were somewhat worried, and 13% said they are worried about safety. 72% of people said they wouldn't change ridership habits because of the train derailment. 12% said they don't ride frequently. 9% said they may decrease how often they ride, and 7% said they wouldn't ride anymore. Okay, so some of this is I'm sure it's a little bit involved with the plan for the 15-minute cities or something, like where they like have everyone in a small community and they can only interact within that community and they can't pass those set parameters of where they live or what have you. So you could have like a theory that some of this infrastructure failing on purpose and all this stuff could be in a way trying to facilitate that as the ultimate goal. Okay, so that brings us to California, because this happened in California recently too. This is from March 22nd, 2023, 1:32 p.m. Bill Hutchinson did the report. 5 killed, train derailed as bomb cyclone hits. It sounds a lot worse than it is. Hits California. So we've been having storms and stuff in California all around. We had some snow in the mountains and such, and a lot of rain here as well in LA. So a lot of shit's going on. So here's the report. abcnews.go.com. Here's the report. You don't have to listen to me read it, and I'll play the little report here. Hold on. Let me scooch it. If I can. There we go.
The relentless weather in the West on this first
from the Good Morning America.
California, underwater and without power. Rob Marciano starts our coverage in Santa Cruz County, California. Good morning, Rob.
Hey, good morning, Michael. This storm was indeed one for the March record books. Came in with crazy amounts of rain and big-time wind, taking out big-time trees like this. Look at the size of this puppy, crossing and blocking the road,
I love the
taking
news.
out power lines, and there's countless trees like this down across the state. The center of this storm really intensified more than we thought it would. It bombed out. By the time it got to Santa Cruz and then the San Francisco Bay Area, it felt like a hurricane.
This morning, torrential rains and ferocious winds causing chaos for commuters across California. Outside San Francisco, cars struggling to navigate floodwaters accumulating on Interstate 280. This Alaska Airlines flight forced to abort its landing in Monterey through winds gusting over 70 miles per hour. Tens of thousands of people losing power. Cars not able to make it down the roads in Boulder Creek. Power lines and trees blocking the way. From LA to the Bay Area, people dealing with flooded homes, downed trees, and washed out roads.
We have saturated ground throughout the county. That takes out roads, and when the trees come down, that takes out wires.
And at least 2 drivers were killed after trees fell onto their cars. 2 lanes of a freeway in Livermore closed after a retaining wall began to give way. Concerns now with more rain, it could completely collapse.
About 250 feet has to be replaced.
A driver attempting to make it across a flooded road loses control. His car pulled into the rapid waters. Able to escape, but rescue teams had to help him off a riverbank. Waves lashing the seawalls in San Francisco, nearly taking out this cyclist.
Still over 100,000 people without power. The winds have calmed a bit, but you can see the rain is still coming down. Might even have some thunderstorms later on today in this very saturated and very battered state. Michael?
Saturated, to put it mildly, Rob. Thank you so much for that. Robin?
It has been relentless out there. Sam Champion is in for Ginger and has the latest on where the threats are heading next. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, Robin. We were in exactly the right place to show you the worst damage. This storm bombed faster than the normal bomb cyclone in 17 hours, not 24 hours. I want to show you something else. So you're going to see two centers of circulation here in this storm. One weaker one whips around the stronger one, then like a slingshot gets thrown into the coast of California. It's called the Fauci effect, and we usually use it to talk about hurricanes. How strong was this system? The strongest March storm on record in the Bay Area, and watch these floods that go all the way down the coastline today as the low goes down the coast. Anywhere from 1 inch to 6.5 inches of rain there. As it whips in, there'll also be some snow in southern parts of California, but we are watching the strong to severe weather that will continue to move east with this storm as we've seen the pattern. Del Rio to San Angelo all the way to Abilene and Dallas. That's for Thursday, but take a look at the National Weather Service for Friday. They have already identified that Alexandria, Jackson.
All right, shut the fuck up. Okay, so they kind of buried this in the article here, but you have to read the article. Well, I'll put the article in the show notes and whatnot. I'm not going to read it, but I will read this part. Okay, so it says here, the powerful springtime storm is also being blamed for the derailment of an Amtrak train near Martinez, about 35 miles east of San Francisco. The train was carrying 55 passengers when it struck a downed tree on the tracks, according to Amtrak officials. No injuries were reported. So kind of just a minor thing that happened, according to this article, that they just threw it in there. Then we've got this video coming out of Androscoggin County. Where is this? Maine. Okay, so this is from Maine.
Railed in the town of Wales.
Hold on, sir.
Hey there, everybody. Thanks for being with us tonight. First, our top story out of Androscoggin County, where crews are cleaning up after a train carrying a substance used in the manufacturing of paper products derailed in the town of Wales. News Center Alice Haskell has the latest from the scene.
Just after 4 p.m., this CSX train derailed 4 rail cars carrying a limestone slurry inside, a material officials say is not hazardous. In a statement from CSX, the company says there were no reports of any injuries to the train crew and none of the product leaked out. When we got here to the scene, crews were already observing the derailment and starting recovery efforts. Folks in the area I spoke with tell me trains have been coming through here often without any issues. And because of recent train derailments across the country where dangerous material spilled, people here tell us they were worried at first this might be a similar situation.
Okay, and so I'm going to end it there. But this is from March 20th, 2023. It only has 1,230 views. It's from News Center, Maine on YouTube. Road closed after train derails in Androscoggin County. So that's just another one. Another one! And now we got another one. They just keep on coming. Train derailment in Washington State spills gallons of diesel fuel into soil. This is from 9 days ago, March 16, 2023. They're all kind of happening one after the other. Interesting. This one has 102,912 views because it's from NBC News, so that helps. So this is an actual national news program covering this. It's a BSNF train, so it's not like Norfolk Southern again. But here's what they do with their little report here.
The EPA updating that number, now saying that more than 3,000 gallons of diesel fuel leaked out of this damaged locomotive and into the soil.
My husband came down earlier to take a look at it.
With the crew off the train and out of harm's way.
He said, "We've got to come down and take a look because it's not something you see every day."
Attention quickly focused on the 3,100 gallons of spilled diesel when this BNSF locomotive derailed early Thursday morning.
Our priority right now is to remove that contaminated soil and then test the area to make sure we removed all of it and then backfill with clean soil.
Overnight, 2
that was the EPA guy
locomotives hauling 6 empty cars derailed on Anacortes Island along a stretch of rail behind the Swinomish Casino on tribal land. A derailment that drew a response from the Coast Guard, EPA, State Department of Ecology, and Skagit EMS.
It also drew a crowd.
Well, I'm concerned about the leakage, all the diesel that is being leaked into the ground.
By early afternoon, BNSF crews used several large cranes to lift and right the locomotives. Side booms placed in the water out of what the railroad is calling precautionary containment measures should oil reach the water. So far, they say it hasn't.
And also, we've had people out checking the channel, and there's been no sheen seen on the channel and no impacts to fish or wildlife.
We feel confident that we're going to be able to excavate, what we need to before there's any sort of weather-driven events or anything else that can cause that.
Oh, the BNSF guy.
BNSF say they assume responsibility for the derailment. They have yet to offer any reason for why this train came off the tracks.
The state's Department of Ecology says large-scale derailments are rare, saying the last major one they responded to in Washington State was in 2020. On Anacortes, Sebastian Robertson, King 5 News.
Okay, so then we're moving on to
the 19th of small town.
This fucking county, which has had the second one in 8 months in their little clickbait title from WHAS 11. Hardin County town sees second train derailment in 8 months. This is from 9 days ago as well, March 16, 2023. 2,343 views so far. Here it is. Let's listen.
Whole new the 19th of small town has concerns after the second train crashed in less than a year. School kids got home late as well, after all of the train crossings were shut down in Glendale of Hardin County. Around 3 p.m., 21 train cars went off the rails. WHS 1119's Bobby McSwine and photojournalist Ian Hardwitt were on the scene covering the aftermath.
The small town of Glendale hit with destruction. Take a look from the WHAS 11 drone over the scene. A train car crashed into the back of an antique shop.
And we could see the lights flashing, and I nudged her and said, look, another train derailment.
Larry Davis and his wife remember the last train crash, which happened back in July. In this latest wreck, CSX says the train was trying to avoid a collision with this semi-truck. The train derailed as a result of that emergency action, stopping at a fast speed.
It happened so recently, it surprised us because, we totally weren't expecting another one this soon.
The train coming to a rest right here, partly damaging one of Glendale's many antique shops, a staple of the community. No one was seriously injured. But
Glendale, Kentucky, if you were wondering.
You look at the track and see how close this track is to buildings, they're just right off the tracks, and any type of little mishap can be a catastrophe, and property damage and then maybe loss of life. So we're grateful that something like that didn't happen.
Jewel Beth Whitten says the same. She says her husband, a volunteer firefighter, sprung to action.
That is a total God thing, to be honest, because Glendale, it's a nice day and it is a walking town, People are walking up and down to the restaurants, the coffee shop, the antique shops. Crews rolling in, carrying equipment designed to clear the 21 derailed train cars here in Glendale. Officials say it will be a multi-day operation.
The work beginning right away, day turning to night. Residents standing by. Whitten says his work on the rails begins for the second time in 8 months. She wants people to remember the small town charm of Glendale.
The shops, the antique shops, the restaurants, the coffee shop, there's a bunch of us in town, and just because there's a train in the middle of town, we're still open.
In Glendale, Bobby McSwine, the WHAS 1119.
Just because there's a train derailment sometimes, don't go out and enjoy life. It's fine. Okay, I don't know why I hid this one, but let me go ahead and do this one because I forgot it. So this is the latest one that I found out about from CBSNews.com in Boston. Crews working on cleanup plan after Ayer train derailment. This is updated on March 24th, 2023, 12:43 a.m. CBS Boston. 2:34 for the video. Is it gonna play? That was weird. It should play. It just takes a second, I think. Played the last time I played it. I was like waiting and I was like, is it gonna play? Then I didn't think I would, and then it did. It says it's playing. Okay, if it doesn't play, I'll read the thing. A freight train derailed in Ayer late Thursday morning. It happened near Scully Road. 5 rail cars carrying 10 containers went off the tracks. The train was stopped on the tracks when it derailed. No injuries were reported. According to CSX again, which owns the train. The company said the railroad cars were carrying trash. The fire department said the cars involved were not carrying hazardous materials. Just before noon today, a freight train operated by Springfield Terminals derailed 5 rail cars carrying 10 intermodal containers holding solid waste on the Pan Am Southern Rail line in Ayer, Massachusetts. There were no reported injuries to the crew, no hazardous materials involved, no leaks or spills of any freight, and no impacts to the environment, CSX said in the statement. CSX personnel are responding as the incident occurred on a line jointly owned with Norfolk Southern. We are working closely with local first responders to assess the situation and develop a recovery plan. The cause of the incident is under investigation. The incident is not having an effect on commuter rail service, operator Quillis says. It's not clear yet what caused the derailment. The Ayer Fire Department said containment booms were deployed in the nearby waterway as a precaution. The area may see heavier than normal traffic during the railroad's operation. Please avoid the area if possible, firefighters said. John Olson lives less than a mile away from where the train derailed. I saw the WBS Twitter page, saw what happened. WBS, BZ. I just wanted to say BS, apparently. I saw the WBZ Twitter page, saw what happened on Scully Road, and thought I should come back and check on the family, Olson said. When Olson saw a train had derailed, he feared the worst. Was it going to be something like Ohio, where we are going to have to leave the neighborhood for an extended period? He remembers as his first reaction. Fortunately, that wasn't the case. Several tracks run close by the area, including those that run the commuter rail line from Leominster and Fitchburg. The Ayer Fire Department said the tracks were initially shut down but later reopened. Brian Nordstrom has lived in the area for 50 years, or so he says. This is the 3rd derailment since I've lived here, he said. Neighbors say they've been uneasy about the look of the tracks for years. If you look down the length of it, the individual iron links are kind of warped and sort of sagging on one side, and we have noticed the Bigelow trains, that's what it says, trans, I didn't say that. They rock unusually, said John Ford. Railway safety expert Carl Berkowitz told WBZ TV train derailments keep happening across the country because the tracks have been neglected. A lot of money was spent on positive train control, he said. That only deals with trains not hitting each other. It controls the speed of the trains on the track. We haven't spent money on upgrading the infrastructure. Ding, ding, ding. Just what I was saying. It's all, happening. It's all happening on purpose. There's rhyme and there's reason and there's a point to it. There's a plan. Everything is planned. And that comes back to the Plandemic. I'm transitioning to the Plandemic. I am, segueing. That's my segue. And now we can circle back to Donald Trump, because a lot of people are on his side right now, but he's not on anyone else's side. And I just want to remind you all that he was a part of the Plandemic. And so he was a part of the whole Operation Warp Speed, put his name on it, or his brand. I mean, it was his thing. He was talking about all the fucking time. So let's take a little report. We're going to take a little a walk down memory lane to 3 years ago, March 21st, 2020. I'm going to skip to the most relevant part. Hold on a second. I don't know where that is. So, or maybe I'll just skip like we did with this speech. We'll just skip around. Okay, so this is him talking to us, and he was helping us we're all going to be helped and everything's going to be fine. Social distancing while they're all crowded around each other. Masks and all that shit later. Here we go. And then we have Ben Carson in the back. I mean, Ben Carson across from Donald Trump, across from Fauci. What could go wrong?
Not even believable. There's been a week of national action and of great national solidarity. People are getting along. We're getting along with Republicans and Democrats, independents and liberals and conservatives, and actually it's a very nice thing to say. We're all one beautiful big American family, and that's taking place right now. Last night I approved a major disaster declaration for the state of New York. I worked very closely with Governor Cuomo, and this is the first time in our nation's history that a president's used the Stafford Act to declare a major disaster in response to a public health crisis. Never happened before. I'm considering other areas where we may or may not be doing that, and working very closely with Gavin Newsom, governor of California.
They're all working together.
We may be doing the same thing depending on their needs, depending on what they're asking for. It's been unprecedented action in New York, and we've had a tremendous federal response all over the country. And I want to thank all the people in the federal government and obviously in the state governments and local governments. We are working hard. Everybody is working hard. And the people standing alongside of me are working very hard. That I can tell you. We've also reached agreements with Canada and Mexico on new travel rules at our northern and southern borders to hold.
Let's skip.
Very much sooner than people would even think. So we say stay at home and save lives. There's
Remember
a
that?
time of shared national sacrifice, but it's also a time
Sacrifice,
to treasure
guys.
our loved ones and to take stock of what is most important, our faith, our families, our neighbors, and our great country. And I want to thank all of the incredible people of our country, the citizens of our country, that what you've done and the way you're responding has just been very special, something that we will never forget, that the history books will never forget. And we're going to have a great victory. We're going to be celebrating a great victory in the not too distant future. And I just want to thank everybody. And now I'll...
Three years later. Yeah.
I'll introduce our Vice President, Mike Pence, who's led the task.
Yeah, we don't want to hear Mike Pence again. Let's never hear him again, please. So then we've got, what else is in here? And then I wanted to show you. Okay. Here we go.
Directly, everybody, many, many times. We're doing very well. I think the Democrats and the Republicans are going to come up with a package that's going to be really something very special. It's going to help people.
So special.
This is the first time there's ever been a case where you want people not to work. It's always, you want to create incentive to work. We're creating not an incentive not to work, but the fact is we're asking people not to work.
And that was all planned too. Because you can't have a success of record job growth without destroying the job market. Ta-da! It's a great trick.
Because of, we have to stay away from each other. If we're going to
We have to stay away from each other. But not us. You. Because they're all next to each other as they say that to us. I never believed any of this shit that they were saying and selling on the news. I would just look at it and be like, he literally touched, oh my gosh, I would be like this every time he would speak to the public from the coronavirus task force. I would watch that shit and I'd be like, how many times is Donald Trump touching that podium? The thing. And I'm like, he's touching it multiple times. He doesn't have gloves on or anything. And they're telling us we can't touch each other, we can't be near each other, and we can't go to work. My initial thought when I learned about the pandemic was they want to remove Trump from power. That's probably what they wanted you to think, because he's the good guy. There's got to be a good guy and a bad guy in the situation. It can't be all bad guys, right? That's impossible. It can't be that they fund every single side of every freaking argument. Just like they fund every side of every war. That's impossible.
Going to kill this horrible hidden enemy. We have to stay away.
They killed it.
So there's never been a thing like this in the history of the world. And
Never.
Other nations are doing similar things, some effectively, some not effectively. They're doing similar things. We are creating a package that's going to keep companies together, keep workers paid so they can live and sustain. We'll see what the timing is. The biggest thing we can do is get rid of the problem. The problem is exactly what we know, the medical problem. We want to have this whole incredible situation that it can start right away. Not that all these companies break up, all the workers are out of jobs. You can't put them back together, and it would take years to put them back together. Because we had the greatest economy in the history of the world until we got hit by this problem. And we can be back very, very quickly. And it's our intention to be back very, very quickly.
Very quickly. Just 3 years.
Of which nobody's ever done.
And also 2 years here.
I'm
about 2 years
that has to approve
for the shutdown
and
here.
the recommendations of the different things, and like buybacks as an example, and stock buybacks. I didn't like it the first time, and this time I'm saying you're not doing it. I don't want money to be used for that. I want money to be used for workers and for opening businesses, keeping businesses, so not buybacks.
But not now. But now we have to close the businesses because, we got to save everybody, even though we're all hanging out with each other every day, not making any adjustments to how we live or interact with each other.
Well, I am strongly recommending a buyback exclusion. You cannot buy back your stock. You can't take $1 billion of the money and just buy back your stock and increase the value. Please.
On the subject of masks, the vice president announced HHS was ordering hundreds of millions of them. Was that order just placed today? How is that going to be distributed, and when can doctors and nurses expect to actually receive those masks?
Yeah, HHS is complete.
Because this was back when they were doing the whole spiel about masks are for the nurses and doctors and all that shit, not for regular people unless you've got some problem and you're like coughing and sneezing and shit and you have symptoms. Then you shouldn't be wearing a mask. That's when we were literally a month before shit changed. Literally, it went from March, no masks, don't worry about it, to April, fuck it. Wear the mask. Everybody's got to wear a mask, and we're going to make you. Make it make sense, because it doesn't, never did, never will. I think there's some Fauci in here, so maybe we could get some Faucian statements. I want to see. Maybe there's not any Fauci. Just the Trumperson. Okay, that's interesting. Let's go back there. It's hard to tell because the closed captions are automatically generated for some reason. Yeah. The English captions. Let's see here.
And I've had conversations with President Xi. I just wish they could have told us earlier. They knew they had a problem earlier. I wish they could have said that.
Are you able to share, thank you for the numbers on the testing, by the way, are you able to share any other hard numbers on number of available tests, on number of ventilators in the federal stockpile?
Well, I'm going to leave that up to Dr. Fauci and everybody else. And I think the answer is we want to share them. I would imagine we want to share the numbers. Admiral, do you want to discuss that?
And then Fauci. Okay, we're just going to go straight to Fauci after that because I'm bored. Okay, so Fauci was in the news recently. Okay, the WEF elite was not pleased with Trump. He refused to go along with them. How can they make him? Okay, so the WEF was all behind Trump, but not in public. So he went to the WEF meeting. Okay, let me find that. Hold on. I'm going to do the thing. Let me find his WEF address. How do I find this? The best way for me to do that is on my computer. So let me give that a try. Or no, I can do the YouTube. There we go. YouTube. I forget. I think it was 2017 that he had his address. Now I can even put it in. I'll put it in the chat for you. Even So this is from World Economic Forum 5 years ago, 2018. He spoke at Davos. He spoke again in 2020, so keep that in mind. But here's the one that he went to in 2018. So this is his address. So I'll put that for you. I'm going to put it right in the chat for you. That's a freebie right there. So enjoy that later at your leisure. So Dr. Fauci was in the news again because there's a documentary out. Let me see what this documentary is called. Hold on a second. It's NPR, I believe. No, PBS. They're all the same to me. PBS has a documentary, American Masters, and they're promoting it, and they're putting out clips and stuff. And it's just like the most horrific thing in the world for Dr. Fauci to deal with, all the anti-vaxxers and stuff. Okay, first, let's go straight to, because there's the other clip I wanted to show, because I put it on my Twitter. So let me put that on here. Donald Trump, 15 days to slow the spread. I just want to flash back to that fun time that we had when people actually believed that. This is a really quick one. This one's from March 16th, 2020.
So I'm glad to see that you're practicing social distancing. It's very good. I want to thank everybody for being here today. This morning I spoke with the leaders of the G7 nations, and they really had a good meeting. I think it was a very, very productive meeting. I also spoke with our nation's governors. And this afternoon we're announcing new guidelines for every American to follow over the next 15 days as we combat the virus. Each and every one of us has a critical role to play.
And then he presents the 15 days to slow the spread thing. And then here's the rest of that from the Telegraph.
We're announcing new guidelines for every American to follow over the next 15 days as we combat the virus. Each and every one of us has a critical role to play in stopping the spread and transmission of the virus. For my administration is recommending that all Americans, including the young and healthy, work to engage in school from home when possible, avoid gathering in groups of more than 10 people, avoid discretionary travel, and avoid eating and drinking at bars, restaurants, and public food courts. If everyone makes this change or these critical changes and sacrifices now, we will rally together as one nation and we will defeat the virus, and we're going to have a big celebration all together. With several weeks of focused action, we can turn the corner and turn it.
Are we celebrating yet?
Progress has been made. I'm also pleased to report today that a vaccine candidate has begun the phase 1 clinical trial.
The stock market took another hit today. Is the U.S. economy heading into a recession?
Yes. Well, it may be. We're not thinking in terms of recession. We're thinking in terms of the virus. Once we stop, I think there's a tremendous pent-up demand, both in terms of the stock market and in terms of the economy. And once this goes away, once it goes through and we're done with it, I think you're going to see a tremendous surge.
Does the buck stop with you? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your response to this crisis?
I'd rate it a 10. I think we've done a great job.
I think he's done a great job, don't you? So then we'll flash forward a little bit to 2 years ago when Dr. Fauci talking about mask mandates and stuff. We just really need these masks, right? So let's go to CNN is probably it's 10 minutes. Fuck that. We'll go to the Bloomberg here. I haven't even gone here. Oh, wait, even better. That's a year ago. Nah, it's 14 minutes. Fuck that. Okay, we'll go here. Actually, I think this might be more interesting. WGN News, 4.8 thousand views, 5 minutes. Dr. Fauci on masks mandate COVID vaccine development 2 years ago. So that would be
cases continue to spread
August
in
3rd,
urban and rural
2020.
areas, and some officials fear the U.S. still does not have a grasp on the pandemic. Most states are seeing a week-over-week rise in test positivity rates for COVID-19. That is a strong indicator of how the virus is spreading. The CDC's new forecast predicts nearly 20,000
Or that too many people are taking
deaths
tests.
by August 22nd. That breaks down to close to 1,000 deaths per day between now and then. Joining us now to talk about this is the nation's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci. Thank you for being with us.
Good to be with you. Thank you for having me.
I know everyone has been hearing you talk about this vaccine possibly by the end of 2020. Is that the timetable, and how effective is it? Because it only has to be about 50% effective, so it's not like a measles vaccine that we might expect, correct?
Well, we do not know how effective it is, and that's the entire purpose of doing a phase 3 trial. Two particular candidates started in a phase 3 trial last week on July 27th. It will take about 3 months to enroll them. About 30,000 people in the trial. 15,000 will get the vaccine and 15,000 will get placebo.
Those are some lucky
people.
people.
That we don't know if it's safe and effective now, and that's the reason why you do the clinical trial. And we hope, and I'm pretty confident
usually
that
for
this
years.
will be able to, I would say, by the end of the year, which I've
Or at
been
least a
saying,
year
we
or
will
6
know
months.
whether it's safe and effective. We're cautiously optimistic
No, a year.
that it will be, because the earliest studies that we did in the phase 1 showed that in a limited number of people that it induced the kind of response, namely a good neutralizing antibody response, which is the gold standard of the thing you would expect would protect you. It induces it at levels that are equivalent to, if not even better, than what happens when you recover from natural infection that you get in convalescent serum. So that's a very good sign. So although there's no guarantee until you complete the trial to show it's effective, which is the reason why you do a trial, hopefully by the end of the year we'll have that answer to that question, and vaccine will be made available to people as we get into 2021 with the
this particular trial of how we're going with this?
Yes, we believe so. The speed that we're doing vaccine is not at the compromising of safety.
No, of course
nor
not.
is it compromising scientific integrity. It's using modern day technologies
Yes, you go.
to cut time away that doesn't really compromise the kinds of things that are important to the trial. For example, from the time we got the sequence of the virus that was put on a public database to the time we went into phase 1 was measured in a few months. Normally, that would take well over a year, and yet there was nothing compromising safety about that. It was merely a technical capability of getting the vaccine to be ready to test in people. So we're very sensitive to the concept of making sure we want to make it safe and we want to prove that it's effective. And that's what the ultimate phase 3 trial results are all about, that we hopefully will be able to get that to the American people by the end of the year, the beginning of 2021.
So, Dr. Fauci, there's a significant portion of the population that still does not believe they need to wear masks. There's lots of videos that have gone viral that have since been discredited. What do you say to those people who think this is really not that serious of an issue?
Well, you just have to look at the numbers. 154,000 people have died, well over 4 million infections in our own country. Clearly, this is a very serious issue. And you know, even though statistically, younger people do much better in the sense of have a much less likelihood of serious disease, we're seeing more and more that young people are getting sick with this and are getting significant consequences. Again, not nearly as much as the elderly and those with underlying conditions, but this is not a trivial disease to be taken lightly. And we're starting to see that even people who don't go to the hospital, that maybe have to stay home for several days or even weeks in a row, that they have lingering symptoms that can last for a considerable period of time.
All right, that's enough of that one. But yeah, like it was a show, he played the role for the right wing to become susceptible to the anti-vaccine the anti-vaccine information, and become a manipulative bull group that they could lob insults and conspiracy theories and stuff on and make them look stupid. So it was trying to group everyone together and make it a right versus left wing kind of situation. And then also infiltrate the progressive side of the Democratic Party, which never really existed in the first place. But, infiltrate these ideologists with this pro-big pharma kind of mentality, or, bringing in the whole intellectual property aspect of it, instead of focusing on the safe and effectiveness of the vaccines, which never was really a question with that sect of the Democrats. Yeah, I just, I'm just saying that everyone had a role to play, and they continue to play that role. And Fauci's role was important during both administrations, one being the Operation Warp Speed, which he worked under with the NIH, with the CDC. Like, they all worked under that that contract, and they had the money from DOD and everything, and not DOD, sorry, DARPA. Was it DARPA? God, not DARPA, BARDA and Moderna and everything. So there were all these contracts that you can find about Operation Warp Speed and what was going on behind closed doors and who was involved. And it was all the people who were involved with Trump, and then they were eventually involved with Joe Biden. It didn't matter whether it was Trump or Biden. It was just a continuity of government kind of situation. Anyway, so back to the documentary. Oh, I went a little off course. American Masters. So what was happening is people were uploading this clip of this really based guy who was just smart enough to know that he was getting got by the government. And what time was this? I don't know exactly what time this was. Sometime in 2021, June 2021. So this was in June 2021. This is part of the documentary. It's a clip from Dr. Fauci. It's from American Masters PBS. It says, Dr. Fauci visits D.C. to battle vaccine hesitancy. Anthony Fauci, American Masters PBS. Yeah, the deep state, for sure. So let's skip the introduction because we know who this dude is. So they're going to a historic African-American neighborhood to try and change their mind about the bad government who is always experimenting on people. And it doesn't work so well in this clip. So this is just for fun, for you guys to enjoy and have a nice little laugh.
In New York, they have neighborhoods. Here they have wards. So this is Ward 8. It's the typical social determinants of health, where they don't get good medical care, they have a high degree of HIV, high degree of COVID-19.
All your favorite things.
The lowest level of vaccination. They're sort of the disenfranchised group that we got to reach out to. So the mayor is now with me going to congratulate the people who are going to go out into the community to try and get people vaccinated.
Okay, so it's Muriel Bowser, the mayor of District of Columbia, with Fauci. So we're going to skip to the based guy because I don't want to hear all the propaganda.
Stop you from getting it. No. So on the very, very, very rare chance that you do get it, even if you're vaccinated, you don't even feel sick. It's like you don't even know you got infected. It's very, very good at protecting you.
And what I said there, that I don't think I said in the broadcast, but I know I said, was that he got it himself twice. And I don't think he had a really good time the second time around. Do you, Mia? I don't think he had a good time. but that's just me.
Just the Anacostia, so get up there. Okay.
All right, see you later.
The people in America are not settled with the information that's been given to us right now.
So I'm not going to be lining up taking a shot on a vaccination for something that wasn't clear in the first place. And then you all create a shot in miraculous time. It takes years to create vaccination.
Well, it used to take years.
Okay,
you know how many years were invested in this approach? About 20 years of science to get us to be able to
20 years
do
is
it.
not enough. And 9 months is definitely not enough for nobody to be taking no vaccination that you all came up with.
The only reason I'm talking to you right now, as close as we are, is that I've been vaccinated.
Right.
But if it allow thousands of people like you don't get vaccinated, you're going to let this virus continue to percolate in this country and in this world.
Something like the common flu then, right?
And not like
It's much
the
more
common
serious than the flu.
Well, the flu kills a lot of people.
Yeah. You know how many people died of the flu the last year? I mean, not this year, virtually none, but the previous year, about 20 to 30,000. You know how many people died from COVID-19 in the United States? 600,000 Americans.
Well, the number that you all given that died, that once again, that's you all's number.
You gonna pass?
Yeah, definitely. Because when you start talking about paying people to get vaccinated, when you start talking about incentivizing things to get people vaccinated, there's something else going on with that. Something else going on.
It is something going on with that.
something else.
You're right. But I'm glad millions of people like me and most everybody here didn't get an incentive. You know what their incentive was? Protecting their health and protecting the city. But I won't keep you anymore.
It's okay, because my incentive, y'all campaign is about fear. It's about inciting fear in people. You all attack people with fear. That's what this pandemic is. It's a fear. It's fear, this pandemic. That's all it is.
So sad. That was such a sad moment for Mr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci. Let's have a moment of silence for Dr. Fauci as I get the next clip ready. Okay, so the next clip is from MSNBC circa 2021, May 17, 2021. An oldie but a goodie. This is another one from the retrospective that we were talking about on the whole show. So this was going to wrap everything up in a bow. And it's a shame that I have to do it on YouTube, but here we are. But this is really great because this is exactly why we trust in Fauci. We just trust him so much. YouTube, we love Fauci. We're not saying anything bad about Fauci. We love him so much. He's our guiding light. Right, Miguel? Guiding light. Okay, here we go. Fauci confirms extremely low risk of transmission for fully vaccinated.
By Zainab Tufekci, who's a sociologist who studies pandemic, has been, I think a good and reliable sort of public intellectual on this, and was an early proponent of masking, pointing to, and she said this basically: the CDC guidelines are essentially implying the risk the vaccinated will transmit the virus to others, including their unvaccinated children, is so vanishing low that it is not worth worrying about. But if that's their position, they should state it clearly and explain it, not just say fully vaccinated people have a reduced risk of transmitting the virus. And what I'm hearing from you is kind of the first paragraph, that like, if you're vaccinated, you really don't need to worry about getting it in a way that's serious or transmitting it.
That is true. That is correct, Chris.
I think that's clarifying for folks, honestly, because I think the reason it's clarifying is this. There was hesitancy in the beginning, I think, at the early part of the data to say that definitively because, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was worry that because the dependent variable that the drug trials were testing on were infections and not transmission, it remained possible, though not likely, that there was some hidden risk of transmission, right? And what I'm getting from you and getting from the CDC is like, the data's coming back and that's not a problem.
You nailed it, Chris. That's correct. Okay, that's absolutely correct. You know, that's one of the things. The CDC is a science-based institution, and when they make recommendations based on the science, often they get criticized that they don't come out and make a recommendation because they're waiting for all the dots to be, the T's to be crossed and the I's to be dotted about it. And now when we say we have more cumulative information, it's very clear. And that's the reason why I'm on the show talking to you about it, to help to clarify it. You're absolutely right. You said it correctly. The risk is extremely low of getting infected, of getting sick, or of transmitting it to anybody else. Full stop.
That's really exciting, wonderful news.
We are seeing that the ability of individuals who are infected through breakthrough infections, namely vaccinated people who ultimately get infected, that they are generally without symptoms or minimally symptomatic. However, it is clear that they are capable of transmitting the infection to uninfected individuals.
That's from July 30th, 2021. Dr. Fauci on COVID-19 spread. Vaccinated people who have an infection are capable of transmitting. Yahoo Finance.